All right, so be ready to slash deviations from print, okay?
Farm.
Mm-hmm.
This is fun.
Fun.
Fun in the sun. Son and Tim landed
Mm-hmm.
on a big bus. The bus was hoot.
Mm-hmm.
The bus tack
Okay.
them to the
Lake.
lake. The sun made
Mm-hmm.
where am I? The stood
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's how far she got. All right, I see Peggy shaking her head. Let's see how she did. This is my scoring. In the first line, Sam and Tim rode on a bus. Okay. The bus was hot, she missed hot. The bus took, she missed took. Lake, I gave her. Sand, she missed, and that was the last word she read. Okay? Did you want to go back and listen one more time? No, that was slow enough.
She mispronounced Sam. I thought she did too.
Actually, she may have, as I listened to it this time, so
Okay.
sadly, that would be another one. Let's go with this scoring because it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad enough. By the way, if 5 people listen to the same recording, you will at times hear differences. When I listen to them again, I sometimes hear differences. But you'll be in the ballpark.
Okay.
So don't be real nervous about that. If you're not sure, you know, whether this is the instructional level or not, go one more, just to be sure. You know, that doesn't hurt. But what I have here is that she read a total of 24 words, and she missed 6, which gave her, because this was 1 minute, this was a curriculum-based assessment. This was in March of first grade, by the way, folks. And this particular passage is the beginning of first grade, okay? This was not unusual, by the way, in the assessments that we did. In any case, she read 18 words per minute correct. By this time in first grade, normally developing kids are reading about 35 to 40 words per minute correct. Many are reading even more than that. Okay, so she's 18 words per minute correct, and her, see the words per minute correct divided by her total words gives her 75% accuracy. So she's missing one out of every 4 words, essentially, that she tries to read. Okay?
And you wonder why they give up.
Exactly. I've seen why they give up. Yep, I've seen it in my own family. My granddaughter, who couldn't wait to go to first grade because she was going to learn how to read. She was so very, very excited. And by the end of first grade, she hated school, she hated reading, she hated herself. She was reading 18 words a minute correct. This is not her, but that's what she was reading. And the average at the end of first grade is 55. She's a great reader today, has a master's degree. Anyway, what's the decision? This student definitely is reading below first grade level, no question, okay? You would, for her, start with the ITA pre-primers. We don't have many print copies of the pre-primers anymore. If you don't have these, they will be digitized and available on the iPad. I brought my iPad so you could see this particular one. by January of this year. So they'll be available to everybody just to, I think, download off of our website, right, Keith? Okay. That would be the place to start. If you don't have that, these would also work. These are the very first primers, and you can work with these to begin with, okay? You also, in additional resources, if you want to take a minute to just look through your additional resources, all of these pre-primers are printed there without pictures, which actually works very nicely. We need kids to read words, not pictures. So you do have the materials. It's in your last section if you want to take a couple minutes to look at that. There is absolutely no intervention that works better than ROAR, absolutely. And reading in ITA with ROAR is the very best of all. So you already know what to do. This is where to start a student, okay? If it's an older student that needs to start here, definitely these without the pictures are the way to go, because then it doesn't look like it's a baby book, okay? So that's the decision for placement, is this particular child needs to be at the very beginning of ITA, okay? We're going to do some more practice with the second grade one. So if you turn to the page that shows the second grade, and notice I put the substitutions, the deviations from print there again, although this is the experienced. All right, ready? This is a second grader, same time of year. Also used as a CBA, so you'll only hear 1 minute of it, and see how the second grader does in reading about the apple tree.
This is student number 4 in second grade. Go ahead.
One day, John's grandfather brought home flats of apples. Pick a red and smile apple to eat. Here, grandfather said, but don't sow any of the apple seeds. You do an apple tree will grow in your tummy. So John picked an apple and began to eat.
You're done. Thank you so much.
Okay. So let's see how you did for scoring, and I probably would even now change some of my scoring. In the first line, did you get John? Mm-hmm. And then brought, and lots, she repeated lots of a couple of times. I only counted it as 2 there. And shiny, she missed. Your instead of her, she said, I remember that. Swallow, seeds, of you do. And then an apple, and she finished on eat, right? Mm-hmm. Were there others?
She missed Jan again, didn't she?
She missed Jan?
The second time, I think.
The second time? Oh, thank you for pointing that out. When a kid misses the name, you count it once.
Okay.
All right? When they miss the name, count it once. So she gets a little bit of a break. Okay? So notice if you go to the end of the line, if she had read all the way to the end of the line, it would have been 49 total words, but she read 48. That was her total words. She did 10 errors that I had counted, which gave her 38 words per minute correct. So again, that's what you would put on the yellow sheet as a pretest for the CBA. and her accuracy was 79%. So she's clearly missing 20%, 21% of all the words that she reads, okay? She's well below that 90, 91% accuracy we want to see for instructional. By the end of second grade, kids should be reading at least 90 words per minute, correct? In fact, here in Lake Wobegon, the average that I've found in this area of Minnesota, Wisconsin is 110. So kids in second grade double their reading speed. They truly master fluency in second grade if they are normal readers. If they're normally developing readers, in first grade they'll be reading about 55 words per minute, correct. They might still be kind of glued to print, as Dr. Jean Schall used to call it, having to decode some words. But by second grade they are fluent, about double their first grade reading speed, okay? All right. So what's the decision for her? You have to go lower to be sure, right. We can only guess now. What we would do is on this green sheet, you'd put in what she did at second grade and then you'd go down. And you can only guess that she's probably still about pre-primer or primer. So go down to first and then go down to the last two, which, as I said, I need to add for you. Okay? All right. Any remaining questions about how to do the instructional level? Keep in mind that what you're going to do is use those passages that I showed you before and have them read the whole passage and run this formula. Then go to the grade level the student is at, which is what we did with these first and second graders, and have them read for just 1 minute. Can you imagine what it's like for an 8th grader who's about a second grade reading level if you gave them an 8th grade passage and have them read the whole thing? We just had a little 3rd grader who's very, very slow, very accurate, but very slow. And unfortunately, the person who was testing him had him read the entire 3rd grade passage. It wasn't that long, but it took him 5 minutes. And he was reading 12 words a minute, correct, on grade level passage. Not too bad as far as accuracy. And then we gave him the ITA book, and he went up to 47 words per minute. That's very, very, very common. Very common. In fact, I have to tell you a story about one of my colleagues when he was in the reading program. And he was doing tutoring in our ITA literacy clinic at campus. He saw this weird alphabet as he saw it, and he thought I was on crack. Told me that. He admitted it a couple years later. So he's working with this kid, and he had essentially that same experience. The kid was just struggling in traditional orthography, TO. And then when he gave him ITA, he was like this. And so he's been sold ever since. In fact, in today's paper, I have to make sure to save it, there's a Minnesota author, he's done some children's books. He could not read better than like 4th grade when he was an adult. And he talked about how his wife helped him to read. You know what she did? She read a page to him from a kid's book, and then she went through and read it line by line and read it with him till he read it well. Roar. Does that sound like, yeah, roar, roar. They didn't call it that, it wasn't exactly, but it essentially was that. And he now is a children's author.
Which is who?
I forget his name.
Did you say it was in the paper when?
It's in Winona, is it St. Paul paper, I believe. Oh. It's either Star Trib, St. Paul, or Winona, because those are the 3 papers we get in the morning.
Well, look at per trip.
Yeah, I'll find out that reference, but that's the power of this particular intervention. But it is absolutely essential that you be at the student's instructional level. Because if you're working at a frustration level with this kid, you're asking them to be here when they're still here. You need to start at their instructional level. And keep in mind with these older kids, their instructional level might look here. Their fluency is going to be like a second grader maybe, or less. You need to meet them on, kind of in the middle. So if it's 7th grade and their fluency is like a second grader, do 4th grade material maybe, okay? So that they really get some success at that level. Now, let's talk about the reading guidelines because this is matching your students to your books. You know ROAR, so we don't need to go through that, but if their instructional level is below 3rd grade, no matter how old they are, they should start with the ITA books, okay? No matter how old, start with the ITA books. If they're kindergarten or 1st graders, you can start with this book or with the Dinosaur Ben series. Okay, kindergarten, 1st grade. If they're older than that and they're still reading below 3rd grade, start them with book 2. Book 2 will be just fine. Even if they're at a pre-primer level, you can get them going in book 2. You may want to use some of those ITA primers that don't have pictures with those kids if they're very low, right? Have you used some of those?
Yeah.
Okay. If they're above 3rd grade, or I usually, if they're like at the end of 3rd grade, I put them into traditional orthography, okay? They don't have to start with ITA reading. They will start with ITA writing, absolutely, all of them will, but they could start with TO reading books, okay? That's worked, it's a heuristic that we've been using in our literacy clinic for a long time, and it really works well. Okay. If you want more training in the ROAR directions, if you go to my YouTube channel, I actually have this same passages that we went through for how to mark deviations from print. I have a demonstration of a ROAR session, and also some information about the effectiveness of ROAR from my early research. Okay. So if you go to youtube.com/readingdocflynn, my name used to be Flynn, so I have maintained that as my professional name, okay? One of my graduate students was in her very last class in the reading program, the master's program, and she pointed to one of the PowerPoints and said, "Do you know this person?" Because I had said, I had Jane Flynn on, I said, "Yeah."